I get it. Everything is more expensive than it used to be. People are looking to cut costs wherever they can. So people will ask, can I write my own will? How hard could this be? Maybe they have the will of a family member, they use it as a guide, and they write their own will. I do not mean to make this sound like brain surgery, which I really hope you would not do by yourself, but this is your whole lifetime of savings. This will affect people you care about. So I'm going to run quickly through 10 of the most common mistakes that attorneys see when people write their own wills. For example, Pennsylvania has format requirements. Where there's money involved or real estate involved, there is law. And if your will does not meet the format requirements, it will not be accepted after your death at the courthouse. Your estate will be treated as if you never had a will at all. And so all the thought you put into it will be for nothing. So mistake number one that people make has to do with handwriting versus typing a will. In the early 1700s, when Pennsylvania was one of the first colonies, I imagine people sat down with candlelight and they put quill to parchment and they wrote their will. Pennsylvania still says you can do that, believe it or not. You can put pen to paper, you can say your name, who gets what, sign your name, and technically that's a valid will. It should be admitted to the courthouse. But as soon as you type it up with modern technology, you print the will, you sign it all by yourself, it is no longer a valid will. This is a format requirement. The format requirements say you have to have 2 witnesses who are over the age of 18 and they cannot be related to you. Then you'll have a valid will. Mistake number 2 is related to mistake number 1 in the sense that it's not just the will itself when it comes to those witnesses. There's a separate piece of paper that's very important these days. It's called a self-proving affidavit, but the idea is when the will goes to the courthouse, we want to make sure that signature on the will was your signature. You might say, well, that's what the witnesses are for, but we have to produce the witnesses. We have to go find them. Or if we can't find them, especially if they're deceased, we have to go find other people who are familiar with your handwriting to say to the court under oath at the appointment, yes, I'm familiar with this person's handwriting. That's their handwriting. It's a valid will. Mistake number 3 has to do with the handwriting again. So over time after you make your will, there will be changes in your family. So people get married, that's happy. People get divorced, usually that's not happy. People die, of course that's sad. And people are born into the family, and that's very happy. Maybe relationships will change. Maybe you have a falling out with one of your children, or maybe you're really helping one of your children during life, but you want to even things out in your estate, so you want to change the percentages of property that will go to various people. All of these are reasons why you update your estate plan. But what people who write their own will do is they pick up their original will, they take a pen, and they start making changes right on the original will. I'm cutting this person out, I'm changing the percentages here, I'm adding a person in. Now it's not a valid will. It will not be accepted by the courthouse. Why not? Because nobody knows, did you make that change or did somebody in the family make that change so that they can get more of your property? You have to keep in mind the people at the courthouse see a lot of funny business. So we don't know who made those handwritten changes, so the whole will is out. Mistake number 4 that people make is they assume the will controls everything. So they write out this beautiful plan for all of their property. They totally overlook that they have beneficiary designations on policies, retirement accounts, bank accounts, and if those people on the beneficiary designations are deceased, the plan right there is not going to go exactly how you think it will go. People just don't remember that the will is for the property you own in your own name with no joint owner and no beneficiary designation. So even adding one of the children as a joint owner to accounts after the will was written means the will is not how it's going to go, not entirely. So that's a mistake that people often make. Mistake number 5 that people make when writing their own wills is they have no backup plan. Pretty common for people to say, I leave everything to my 3 children in 3 equal shares. But there's no backup plan. When one of the children dies before that parent who made the will, what are we supposed to do with a third of the estate if there were 3 children? There's one of the beneficiaries is deceased. The way you might want to write your will is to be very clear. If this beneficiary dies before I do, then this is who gets that share of my estate. So if a child dies, maybe you want it to go down the bloodline to the deceased child's children, your grandchildren. But if it doesn't say anything, I suppose now it's a 50-50 split of the surviving 2 children, but your grandchildren are going to be cut out of your estate. Think long and hard about who the beneficiaries are, but who's the backup plan? Who's the beneficiary who gets that share if the one you named passes away before you do? Mistake number 6 that people make is that they focus on specific property. So it says, my son Joey gets the truck, my daughter Sally gets my house, and my son Michael gets these accounts, and specific accounts are listed right in the will. The problem is there's always other stuff. Who gets all of that? This is called the residuary estate. Who gets the residuary estate? So if you focus on specific property, but then after writing the will, you sell the real estate that you have and buy different real estate, or you close those specific accounts and you open up accounts at different banks. Well, who gets that property? Those are just some obvious examples, but there's always something else. So you want to be very clear. It's not just, there's nothing wrong with writing specific bequests of property to specific people, but you want to be clear on who gets everything else. Mistake number 7 that people make when they write their own wills has to do with real estate. So they'll say that a specific person gets the real estate, but then meanwhile, they're putting beneficiary designations on bank accounts and brokerage accounts and life insurance and retirement accounts. So they've accounted for everything, but the cash accounts are going to other people. The real estate is going to a particular person or persons. The problem with that is the will only control for the real estate, what the person died owning in their own name, and the will says who gets the real estate. But when we go to open the probate estate with the will to get that real estate to those listed people, there are fees right off the bat with the courthouse. Maybe an attorney has to be hired to manage this whole estate administration. Pennsylvania has an inheritance tax, so those people are not getting the real estate until they pay Pennsylvania first. But there's no cash in the estate to pay the inheritance tax or the court fees or an attorney. So how do we even open probate if you've designated all the cash away to other people and the listed people are supposed to get the real estate, but there's no way to get the probate off the ground? There's no money in the estate. Maybe they can dig into their own pockets and pay Pennsylvania's inheritance tax and pay the lawyers and pay the court fees, but very often those people don't want to reach into their own pockets. And we certainly can't go to all those other people who were designated to get the cash accounts because they're not going to cough up their inheritance to help the people getting the real estate through the probate estate. So you want to have some cash in your accounts if your will says this person gets this real estate. Mistake number 8 that people make when they write their own wills is they don't think about the beneficiaries in poor health. So everybody's healthy when you make the will and you say, my spouse gets this, the children get this. But one day the child has a car accident and you die a month later without updating your will. This child in the car accident had a head injury. The child is acting erratically. This child cannot manage money, but now we're supposed to give a lump sum from your estate to this person. More commonly, what I see is the spouse is in a nursing home and Medicaid is paying thousands and thousands of dollars a month for the care of this spouse. And as soon as we leave a lump sum to the spouse, Medicaid goes away and all that money is going to go to long-term care when we could have supplemented Medicaid with the money from the inheritance to make life better for that person. Or maybe my plan is 3 children in 3 equal shares, but if one of them dies before I do, the money goes down the bloodline. A third of my estate, because one child passed away, is going to grandchildren, but they're too young to manage money. And if a young person inherits from your estate, there's a specialized account in Pennsylvania, but the child has full access to that money at the age of 18. Think about yourself at the age of 18. Were you mature enough to handle a lump sum of money, or would it be a good idea for someone else to manage that money until the child is a bit more mature, and in the meantime, someone else is paying for that child's education or job training, their first apartment, their transportation? That's usually the way to go. So for all of these circumstances that I've just mentioned, building a trust inside your will solves the problem. But people writing their own wills do not know how to write trusts inside of wills, not trusts that will actually work for all of these circumstances. Mistake number 9 that people make when they write their own wills has to do with the online options these days. There are so many ways that you can use an online program to write your own will. My own bank tries to sell me on doing this all the time. And when I first saw these emerging, I thought, this is good, because not everybody can afford to hire a lawyer to do it the right way, so at least they'll have something. But I've had clients who come in and they show me what they used an online program to write, and they say, it took me through all these questions, and I answered the questions, and this is the will that was produced. When I ask them, ultimately, what do you want the outcome to be, and they tell me, I say, that's not what this will says, because they didn't even understand the terminology in the question they were being asked to answer. They didn't know what a specific bequest was as opposed to a residuary estate. They didn't know any of the terminology, so they answered it the best they could, but the outcome was not what they wanted it to be. And that kind of leads me to mistake number 10, which is that when people write their own wills, they think that it's the whole estate plan. They think that's what an estate plan is. It's a will. But there was no thought given to the power of attorney, the healthcare power of attorney. I'm talking about part of the estate plan that is extremely important when you are still alive. If nobody can get into your bank accounts and pay your bills after you're in the hospital for weeks, your will do nothing there. It offers no help. You need an incapacity plan. So if you're going to write your own will, I wonder, are you going to write your own power of attorney? In my opinion, that's even more complicated than writing your own will. And so I encourage you to seek some guidance. Running through all of these common mistakes that are encountered when people write their own will just leads to the conclusion that this is your whole life. Before you put quill to parchment, think long and hard whether you really want to make all these details happen to reach a certain result for the people you care about.